Generation Z Futurists Podcast.
By R. Sam Mateen, the youngest futurist in the world.
The first member of World Future Studies Federation Jr.
And the founder of Generation Z Futurists Movement and Podcast.
Hi everybody, my name is R. Sam, and this is the first episode of Gen Z Futurists Podcast. Well, first of all, let me tell you what is this podcast about and what I want to share with you here. In this series of podcasts, I want to talk about futures. For example, what is future and how we can create good futures for ourselves and other people? Can we predict the future? Can we change and create the futures we want? I will also talk about future studies and the ways it can help us to see and understand futures better and try to make plans and create the futures we want, not just to wait for the futures to happen for us. In the first episode, I'm going to talk about these topics. What is WFSF and WFSF Junior? What is future studies? And do we have only one future or more? Who is a futurist? And what do futurists do? And finally, what is the Gen Z Futurist platform? Welcome again to my first episode of Gen Z Futurist Podcast. Well, let's see what is WFSF first. WFSF stands for World Future Studies Federation, founded in Paris in 1973. WFSF is an NGO and a global network of leading futurists with members over 60 countries. I will have a full episode later about WFSF, but it is interesting to note that in 2019, WFSF Executive Board started a new category of membership called WFSF Junior, which school-age children can apply to join WFSF. Well, I am proud to say that I'm the first and youngest member of WFSF Junior. I have a great passion to learn about future studies and teach other children about it. You have probably noticed by now that I used the plural form of the word future many times. But why? Do we have different futures or only one future? Let's see how our ancestors thought about the future. Well, for thousands of years, human beings thought that we have one past, one present, therefore only one future. Predicting the future has always been a very important task, and it gave the power to those who could learn about what future holds for them and the society. The easiest example is this. If someone could predict whether tomorrow will be a storm or not, they could save their crops or even their life because of that prediction. People in the past believed, and some people do now, that the future is determined and will only happen to us. That's why they try to know when they will get married or die. Some people called fortune tellers claimed that they could predict the determined future and asked for food or money in return. Unfortunately, still there are many of those people who say they can predict the future, and there are more people who believe them. The most important thing to know is that not only the future is not determined, but also it is not 100% predictable. We should learn that the future is always changing according to the decisions we make in our daily life. And more importantly, we should know that we do not have only one future, but different futures. So let's see. What is future studies and what it says about futures? Future studies is a scientific research field which studies possible, probable, and preferable futures. So that's why we don't say a future study and instead we use the word future studies in plural because we have more than one future, which I will talk about it in my next podcast. Now we can say who is a futurist and what do futurists do. A futurist is a person who has a good knowledge about different fields of study and can analyze the trends and events in the past and present to make some scenarios about the possible futures. Futurists use future studies methods and tools to understand trends and changes so they can have a more clear picture of futures, so they can even affect it and even change it to preferable futures. We have a lot to learn together, so I will talk about this topic in the next episodes of my podcast. Now is the time to tell you about Gen Z Futurist movement and platform. First, let me tell you a little bit about different generations, like X, Y, and Z, and even Alpha. According to their birth year, we have 4 types of generations. First, people who were born between 1960 and 1980 are called Generation X. Second are Generation Y, those who were born between 1980 to 1996. Generation Z, according to the BBC and Forbes magazine, are children and young people who were born between 1996 to 2010. And finally, the latest generation are those who were born after 2010, and we call them Generation Alpha. I will talk about these generations and their characteristics in the other episodes, but now I want to talk about Generation Z, which I belong to. Generation Z has never seen the world without the internet. So it literally means that this online generation has no idea how the world was before the internet. We, the Gen Z, spend hours and hours a day surfing the net, using social media and watching videos every single day. We learn things pretty much different from our parents, so we have totally different mindset about almost everything, since we have access to information and knowledge that our parents could never even dream of. Being independent, self-confident, and autonomous are also some of the key characteristics of us, Generation Z. Another thing is that we don't rely on our parents as much as previous teen generations did. The reason is that the internet and technologies allow Gen Z to start earning money at a much earlier age than our parents. There are more to know about Gen Z, which you can Google Gen Z characteristics, and you will find many videos about it. But now, let's see who are Gen Z Futurists and why I have created a movement and platform for Gen Z to become Futurists. There are many reasons why I have created this movement and platform. Why I wanted to become a futurist and help my generation to learn about future studies and become futurists too. The most important reason is that when I see the world around me, I feel unsafe. Why? Because every single day I hear about some global challenges and problems, from global warming to terrorism and from hunger to clean water problems in YouTube and other social media. And I think this is not the world I want to live in. We have all these problems and still our politicians are wasting our time and money and energy on stupid things. Few months ago, I sent a video message to the 23rd conference of WFSF in Mexico and said that the biggest problem we have with our decision makers is that politicians only think about 4 to 8 years and make important decisions for short time. And since most of them are over the age of 60 and 70, they will probably die and never see the results of their decisions. So they don't care about us. What we should do is to teach Generation Z at schools and colleges about future studies and let them become the leaders and decision makers for the countries. Then we'll see how we can change the world and build a better and safer world for everyone. The second important reason why I created this movement and platform is to change the failed education system, which wastes children time and energy and has no useful outcome for us. We need to change and even disrupt the education system to teach children the skills we need now and in the next 5 to 10 years, instead of memorizing some stupid stuff that is useless. Now is the time for us, Generation Z, to learn about future studies and teach other children how we can build the future we want to live in. Gen Z Futurist movement and platform will be managed by a group of children and teenagers who want to change their lives and make great impact on the world to build great futures. In the next episodes of my podcast, I will tell you more about Gen Z Futurist platform. But till then, please go to my YouTube channel to see my 2020 goals for Gen Z Futurist. And remember to subscribe to see my new videos. You can also go to my website, genzfuturist.com, and register your name to become a member of the platform. The good news is that you can later become a member of World Future Studies Federation Junior, and in the future become an international futurist. Please follow me on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, which you can see my links in the podcast down below and website. Stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, let the dreams come true.